You're 16, kneeling on the driveway with a drain pan under your mom's sedan on ramps. You're saving her $44.99 on an oil change. 2 decades later, you're holding one sheet of paper worth $40 million. Between those two moments sits an industry worth $69.2 billion. More than 318,000 Americans work inside it. Every one of them started the way you just did. Someone else's car up on ramps, your own hands down under it, nobody standing there watching. She checks the dipstick, sees the oil sitting clean at the mark, and hands you the cash. The wrenchwork peaks in the middle of this ladder. The money peaks at the top, where almost nobody touches a wrench. This is every level of a race car mechanic's career, and what the climb costs. If you like breakdowns of how careers actually progress, like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Level 1. The driveway and the cart. You're 16, and the car belongs to your mother. The ramps are borrowed from a neighbor 2 doors down, and the drain pan is the only tool you actually own. You warm the engine for 2 minutes to thin the oil, back the front wheels up onto the ramps, and set the parking brake before you go under. Then you slide the pan across the concrete and find the plug. You crack it loose with a ratchet and back it out by hand, and the warm oil comes out in a rope. The smell of it fills the whole driveway. You spin the filter off and it dumps straight down your forearm. Chris Fix warned you about that in the video, and you watched it enough times to recite it. New filter, a smear of clean oil on the gasket, hand tight, then a quarter turn more and stop. Then the torque wrench comes out of its case. You set the click and pull until it snaps. The first time you did this, you leaned on the ratchet instead, buggered the threads on the pan, and lost a Saturday standing at a parts counter. You never guessed at a fastener again after that. Fresh oil in, cap on, engine running. You crawl back under with a flashlight and stare at the plug for a full minute. Nothing moves, and the concrete underneath stays dry. The dipstick reads full, and your mother hands you the $44.99 the shop wanted. Then the driveway goes quiet again. The cart comes 2 summers later, used and ugly. A neighbor's lawn every Saturday morning paid for it. A used chassis that's actually race-ready runs $2,000 to $3,500. You gap the spark plug with a feeler blade, scrape the carbon off the piston crown, and set the chain tension by feel and by ear. It fires on the first pull. The 2-stroke screams down the whole street, and a neighbor comes to the fence to see what died. Saturday, you run what ya brung at the club track. Families work out of open trailers with folding tables and toolboxes. Every dad in that paddock is somebody's crew chief for the day. A man in a folding chair tells you your chain is too tight. You give it a ½ inch of slack and pick up a 1/10 of a second through the corners. Nobody pays you for any of it, and nobody has to. The pit lane smells like burnt castor oil and hot brakes. 2 strokes buzz on the far side of the fence all afternoon. You want to be inside this every weekend of your life. So the next thing you want is somebody paying you to do this. That's level 2. Level 2. Saturday night short track. The first paid job is a lube pit off the highway. 3 bays, flat rate, and about $15 an hour. You rack a car and pull the drain plug in one motion. You spin the filter off and torque a new one down. You top the sump off and wave the customer out of the bay. That customer just paid $44.99. The next car is already nosing into the bay behind him. 22 of them come through on a slow Tuesday. There's a school in Mooresville, North Carolina that teaches this properly. The NASCAR Technical Institute charges $43,100. You don't go because you can't get anywhere near that number. You volunteer instead on a dirt late model on a Friday night. By 9 o'clock, you're pushing it through the tech line. The mud is already drying stiff on both your sleeves. The tools are yours now, and they cost you 2 paychecks. An impact gun, a tire pyrometer, and a dump can. A milk crate of quick change gears rides in the truck bed. The car comes off the track hot and ticking. The driver climbs out and tells you it's tied off 4. You pull the wheels and read the tire temperatures across the tread. 2 pounds of air come out of the right rear. A quarter turn goes into the wedge bolt. You scrape the packed clay out of both rear wheel wells. You top the fuel off and send it back to staging. He wins the feature by a car length. Between the heat and the feature, you swap the rear gear. Under 6 minutes, flat on your back in the clay. A drop light lies on your chest, and the quick change cover drips. You stop washing the clay out of your boots after that. One night you forget to check the fuel before the feature. He coasts across the line with the engine already dead. Nobody yells at you, and you just never do it again. The next week the can is in your hand before he asks. A kid named Hunter Cornell, out of Berlin, Pennsylvania, is 22. He's already crew chief on a World of Outlaws late model. He describes those first years on the road like this. It was different. Only me and Drake. That is the entire staffing plan at this level of racing. The clay dust gets into the radio and the coffee. It gets into the sandwich and the seams of your jacket. You breathe it for 2 full seasons without complaining once. On the last hot lap of the night, the crew chief keys the scanner. He calls you by your name instead of hey. That is the entire promotion, and there is no raise attached. What you want next is somebody paying you to build a car. Not to clean one and not to rack one, so you start driving to race shops on your day off. You leave a phone number with anyone who will take it. Eventually one of those shops calls you back. That's level 3. Level 3. The Race Shop Fabricator. The first full-time race shop job pays about $21.20 an hour. With a welding certification and a shop that needs you, the postings run $30 to $37 an hour. A technician pay survey puts the median working auto tech near $90,000. That is the number your cousin at the dealership quotes at Thanksgiving. It is also a number you will not see for a decade. You take the bench anyway, and you take it gladly. The shop is concrete, fluorescent, and cold at 7 in the morning. Your side of it holds a tube notcher and a bender. There is a welding machine, a hood, and a chassis setup plate. The plate is flat to within a few thousandths of an inch. The work is 4130 chromoly, a thin-wall alloy tube that punishes a lazy hand and never forgives a guess. Rulebook first, before you cut anything at all. You pull the sanctioning body's book off the shelf and read the tube diameter and the wall thickness twice. Then you measure, and you mark, and you bend. You notch the end so the tube saddles tight against the main hoop. You dry fit it, pull it back out, and dry fit it again. Tack. Check the fit. Then lay the bead in. The argon hisses, and the arc goes blue-white through the lens. It smells like ozone and hot steel. It never stops smelling good, not once in 20 years. Shane Love welds motorroom parts in cages at a shop in Huntersville, North Carolina. He told a trade magazine why he wants machines doing the repetitive work. I can control my process and make each part the same. That is the whole job in one sentence. It takes you 3 years to hear it properly. Here is the year you almost do not survive. The car ships Thursday morning, and there is no version where it doesn't. Wednesday afternoon, you pull the mill certificate for the tubing. It is the paperwork that proves what grade of steel you welded. The wall thickness on that paper is under what the rulebook demands. You built a cage that will fail inspection. You put a driver inside a bar that isn't legal. You tell the car chief before anybody asks you a single question. He does not fire you, and he does not raise his voice. He hands you a cut-off wheel and he stays. You cut the hoop out at 6 in the evening. You bend new tube, notch it, and fit it cold. You burn it in with your shoulder braced against the door bar. There are 2 inches of clearance for the torch and nothing more. You finish at 4 in the morning with the argon bottle nearly empty. The car goes through inspection on Saturday morning. It comes out the other side with no rework at all. After that, you stop grinding your welds smooth. You want the inspector to see exactly what he is looking at. The first car you built end-to-end passes on its own. Somebody on the floor points at it and says you did that one. The scales come out next, 4 pads under 4 tires. The angle finder goes on the rear end housing. A laser gets strung down the center line of the chassis. You set ride heights and read the cross weight off the pads. You learn that a car is not a shape at all. It is a set of numbers that all have to be true at once. Change one and you change 3 others you weren't touching. That is the day the job stops being metalwork. Then the road crew list goes up on the wall by the time clock. Everybody walks past it on the way in and pretends not to look. You read it twice before you believe the middle line. Your name is on it, spelled right, in somebody else's handwriting. Travel means hotels, and every weekend from February to November. It also means the car stops being a project on a jig. It becomes something that works in front of people. That's level 4. Level 4. On the road. Mechanic and car chief. The traveling race technician averages about $40,000 a year. Do it well enough for long enough and you become a car chief. A car chief clears 6 figures for the same 7 days. The car chief is second in command, and the job is simple to state. The car is ready, and the car is legal. David Farrow, a car chief profiled by a safety publication, puts the cycle in one sentence. You will repeat it for the next 10 years. We come into the shop on Monday and open a new book. Monday you open the build book on the car that came home Sunday night. Every note from last weekend is already in there. The shock that leaked, the bent tab, the complaint about entry. You have 7 cars in rotation at any one time. Every one of them gets treated like it is brand new. Tuesday it goes on the scales and the setup rig. Ride heights, alignment, crossweight, all of it written down. Wednesday you run the checklist line by line. Shocks first, then springs, then the track bar. Bump stops, brakes, belts, and the fuel cell. Thursday you load the hauler in an order you could do blind. At the track you will pull parts out of it in the dark. Then you drive. And the drive is most of the job. At the track you unload and set the pit stall. Then you take the car up the tech line. Officials drop body templates onto the sheet metal. It sounds like a dropped tray of cutlery. 1 week a template sits proud over the right rear quarter. It is the thickness of a business card. And it is enough. You get pushed out of line in front of everybody. You and 2 guys massage the panel in the garage. The inspector stands there and watches you do it. It goes through on the second pass. After that, you check the templates yourself before you leave the shop. The alarm doesn't wake you anymore. You are up before it, and the hauler is already yours. Practice starts, and the driver says the car won't turn in the center. You take a round out of the track bar. A pound of air comes out of the left front. He qualifies 4th, and nobody says anything about it. The garage smells like diesel and hot brake pads at 9 at night. Somebody is always grinding something 2 stalls down. You hand the car to the crew chief and the driver on Friday. After that, you are done deciding how fast it goes. Unless you want to be the one who decides. There is another way to make money in this garage. It is faster. And it pays more than the bench does. It does not require knowing anything about a car at all. It requires a first step, a set of hands and hips. Teams recruit for that out of college football. They do not recruit it out of race shops. That's level 5. Level 5. Over the wall. On a chartered cup team, the money over the wall gets serious. The top tire changers and jackmen start at $150,000. The very best of them clear $300,000 a year. Most of them did not come up through a race shop. They came out of college football instead. They were recruited for the first step, the hands and the hips. Andy Papathanasou walked into a garage about 20 years ago. He knew nothing about racing when he got there. He rebuilt the pit stop as an athletic event on purpose. Jeremy Kimbrough played linebacker at Appalachian State and in the league. Now he carries the front tires for a cup team. He came through the Drive for Diversity program to get there. He told a local news station what the job actually is. It's a team-oriented sport. That combine has posted 100% job placement into crew roles. You find out about it through a coach, not a job board. NASCAR set the crew at 5 over the wall in 2018. It issues everybody the same air gun, so there is nowhere to hide. Your gear is a suit rated to SFI 3.2A/5, a helmet, gloves, and a jack you haul at a dead sprint. You go over the wall a lap early and crouch down. The gun is against your chest and your eyes are on the pit box. The car stops in the box in front of you. The jack goes under and the right side comes up in one stroke. 5 lugs off and the tire comes away in your hands. The fresh tire hangs on the studs before it stops moving. 5 lugs on and you are already running to the other side. The fueler is still in when you get there. The jack drops and that is the only signal anybody needs. He's gone. Under 10 seconds all 4 corners. Every single stop, every single Sunday all season long. You stop lifting for size and start lifting for the first step. The gym becomes part of the job description. You drill the same motion thousands of times for muscle memory. The stop you will remember is the one that went wrong. The gun stutters on the second lug and hangs there. You lose 5 spots on pit road in 1.5 seconds. You watch it on film on Tuesday, frame by frame. The fix is your left foot landing 4 inches closer. 4 inches. Over and over, until your body forgets to think. Next Sunday the stop is clean and nobody mentions it. The driver taps the roof on the way out of the box. That is the entire thank you, and it is enough. Then the knees start telling you how many Sundays are left. Nobody over the wall gets old doing this. There is exactly 1 seat in this garage where the wrenching stops. The earning does not stop with it. That's level 6. Level 6. On the box. A cup crew chief makes $500,000 a year. The number moves with what the car does on Sunday. The good ones clear more than $1 million a year. You sit on the pit box with a headset on. Timing screens glow in front of you all afternoon. It is quieter up there than anywhere you have ever worked. The rule book is your problem now, and the license is in your name. If the car is illegal, it is your suspension. Cole Pern ran the box at Furniture Row Racing. He took his driver to the 2017 Cup Championship. He was the crew chief responsible for 17 of that team's 18 wins. Nobody in victory lane is holding a wrench, lap 90, and the driver is on the radio saying he's free off 2. You take a half round out of the track bar, then you tell him to give it 10 laps. It comes to him, and he runs the leader down with 40 to go. Then the call, and the call is yours alone. 2 tires or 4, and the fuel window is tight. You can make it if the yellow falls the right way. Sean Pete coaches pit crews for a living. He does the arithmetic on what a blink costs at Daytona. 0.2 of a second is 56 feet of racetrack. 56 feet is first place or 6th place. That gap is worth $1.1 million. You call 2, and you say it once. He restarts on the front row and he holds it. Tuesday morning there is a debrief and there is a list. The list is always longer after a win than after a loss. You stop bringing tools to the track altogether. There is nothing in the box but screens and a radio. Above the box there is exactly one more rung. It is paper, and it is the only rung that is. A charter is the franchise that guarantees a team its starting spot. One of them sold for $40 million in 2024. 2 owners walked away from the sport by selling 3 of them. The 3 went for $84 million combined. That is the last level on this ladder. It is not a trophy, and it is not a lap record. It is a signature on the bottom of a page. The hands that learned all of this never touch the car again. They hold a pen, and a headset, and a phone. Everything you built with them is behind you now, so here is what all of it was actually worth. The 2026 Daytona 500 pays a record purse. The whole pool is $31 million. About $1.6 million of it goes to the winner. The rest gets split down a payout curve the teams never used to see. Everybody watching thinks that check is the top of the ladder. It isn't. The charter is. The paper that says you get to show up is worth more. It is worth about 25 winners, shares on its own. And the whole thing fits in a folder on a passenger seat. That's the twist the driveway never tells you. The highest paid person in this sport is the one furthest from the car. The best hands in the building are out on the wall. They make $150,000 to $300,000 a year. The man who signs for him sits on a pit box above him. The man who signs for both of them is holding a document. Nobody in that chain has a tool in their hand. You gave up a lot of Saturdays that belong to other people. Birthdays, weddings, a funeral you watched from a hotel parking lot. You would give them up again, and everyone in your life knows it. They have stood in victory lane beside you. They have felt what confetti does to a person who earned it. Now you own a shop in Mooresville, with your name on the lease. There are 11 people on the floor and a car on the setup plate. There is a tube rack against the back wall and a bender bolted down. The kid in Bay 3 is making about $15 an hour. He's draining the oil out of a sedan that came in off the street. The walk-in customer paid $44.99. He's reading the torque figure off his phone before he touches the plug. You do not tell him he is doing it the slow way. You tell him to check it again with a light after it runs. He waits for the engine to warm and then crawls back under it. He comes out shaking his head. There is nothing on the concrete at all. Same job, same smell, same $44.99. The only thing that changed is who signs the ticket at the end. You walk back through the shop, past the setup plate and the tube rack. Somebody is grinding something in the second bay. The argon bottle in the corner is nearly full for once. And the drain pan you bought at 16 is under the bench in bay 1. Same dent in the rim from a tailgate in Pennsylvania. Same stain across the bottom that never came out of it. It has been to 4 states and outlasted every tool beside it. It is the oldest thing in a building with your name over the door. You slide it back under the bench and turn the lights off behind you.